Survivor specialist Phil and Alexa are back, and Survivor Heroes vs. Healers vs. Hustlers is over with. And somehow King Ben came all the way back from the dead and won the game 4-2-1. Ryan even managed to get himself a vote there at the end, which I was pretty shocked by. What happened? Oh, you heard all the sound, didn't you?
Yeah, I got that. Always happens every time.
The beauty of not muting the live event over on YouTube. It's shocking each time. But yeah, King Ben somehow pulled it out. I think that clearly this fire making thing really worked out for him. And I actually am starting to think that Chrissy might have beaten Devin, because the way that it was played up, all the women were probably going to vote for Chrissy had Devin been the one sitting next to her instead of Ben. And then she was also going to get JP's vote. And I think that she probably would have gotten Ryan's vote had Ryan been sitting over there. But it's kind of crazy that this fire making challenge came into play in such a big way in the first season that it ever comes in, which, you know, it doesn't always happen. We saw like how many times did the extra vote come in or the vote steal and nothing ever happened with them. And now here's this fire making challenge that put the two, what we thought were the favorites to win, up against each other. And Ben pulls it out and ends up going on to win the game because of it.
Well, that's what I liked so much about it. And we kind of, like, we talked about it a lot in advance, but I think the best case scenario for that group of four happened in that it was Ben versus Devin, the two people who we thought were the most deserving. And also within that, Chrissy and Ryan were going to be that duo together no matter what. So to put the two people who were going to kind of cancel each other out was perfect. And it gave Ben a chance to prove himself. And Devin said he wanted the opportunity. He wanted to prove himself. And actually being put in that puts you at an advantage, because then you automatically have this huge selling point, assuming you do win, because Chrissy won and deserves that final immunity challenge. Ryan was put there, and then Ben just had the icing on the cake of a really, really great game of winning that fire making challenge. So I think it worked out really, really well. Like you said, the vote steal has never, it never really caught much traction because it wasn't working out so well, but this could not have gone any better.
Yeah. And I didn't actually look at all the Twitter comments as they rolled in, because there were just so many coming in and I just kept on like removing them. And I haven't really looked at any feeds or anything because I drove home afterwards. But, I got to say that, like, I thought this was one of the best finales that they've had. And for as unexcited as I was coming into this, now I'm sitting here and I was like, from the get-go, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Ben finding the idol right away and then watching the rest of that time play out, knowing that everything that everybody was talking about was just useless. Like they were never going to be able to get rid of Ben anyway. And it was like, well, what are they going to do? And they ended up deciding on Mike, which was I was really surprised with. I thought they would have decided on Devin, but I guess that they figured Devin could actually beat Ben at the end, which they didn't need because Chrissy was winning all the immunities anyway. But at least they thought Devin had a better chance than Mike. So Mike had to go. But I thought it was interesting how such a great move here to actually vote for Mike to make sure it was a tie. And then Ben just says to him, like, hey, now your fate's in their hands, meaning Chrissy and Ryan, who elected to keep Devin over Mike, probably strictly for his challenge ability.
Yeah, and that was great on Devin to notice that. And I remember they cut to this couple in the studio audience, and they said, if you're Devin, what do you do? And this woman said, go with your gut. And I think so many people don't go with their gut on Survivor because they either have to stick with an alliance or they're overthinking themselves too much. But Devin, throughout this game, was very confident in himself and what he was doing. And I think that's part of why he did so well. He really trusted himself. And that also is what turned out to be his demise, because he broke that flint when he was practicing. And he was like, you know what, I'll just do some yoga and it's going to work out totally fine. And that didn't work out for him. I thought he had it in the bag. And also one like tiny thing that you could have missed, or anyone could have missed at the beginning of the episode, Devin starts a fire and you get a little, that like shh kind of noise that they'll do. And that was a huge tip off that Devin was going to be involved in that fire making challenge.
Yeah, exactly. And I really like the way the fire making challenge played out. And I mean, just any, like, I know Ben ended up finding how many idols. I just don't understand why they always kept saying Ben wouldn't be looking for one. Ben wouldn't be looking for one. Ben, and anybody who thinks like Ben was handed the idols, it's like, no, nobody else was looking for the idols. Like, why were they not looking? Like, they all just, like, we have so many audio clips of them saying, no, he's not going to get another one. No, I'm writing Ben. No, we don't have to worry. Why would you not worry about it? You know the guy has nothing else to do. He literally didn't sleep the one night.
Yeah, and it was the night that they came back from the tribal council. And I don't know if that's the same night that he found it, but we were just saying this before we went live. There's 5 people left, and they're all like, all right, guys, Final Four, it's gonna be totally awesome. And they're talking about being in the Final Four while they're watching Ben go walk off. It was like I was pulling my hair out. Like, how are you guys talking about the Final Four? How can there still be so much overconfidence this or like this late in the game? It was insane. And Ben found those. No one else found those. They all sat there and they slept. And I know that you need to sleep and I know that you need to eat, but there's 4 of them. And yes, Mike stalked him for hours, and I'm sure Chrissy stalked him for hours, but if there's 4 of you and 1 of him. And so why are you letting him go to the water well? Why is Ben the one going to get water? It makes no sense.
That's exactly what Desi said to them at the final tribal. She's like, 4-1, 4-1. And like anybody who thinks it's too many idols, too many twists, it's like, yeah, there are a lot of idols and there are a lot of twists. And I'm not always the biggest fan of too many idols and too many twists. But if you're going out to play Survivor, you have to assume that at every single moment, there's going to be a new idol or a new twist put into the game. And to let the number 1 enemy walk away on his own without having anybody follow him it's just dumb. Like it's just a bad move. And I don't care if production decides to put 15 idols in there. If they want to put 15 idols in there, you better be ready to play and find 15 idols. That's how you win the game. Ben won the game because he hustled the entire time. He never took off. And when he started to underestimate people, he almost got, and he didn't. And he was able to keep going and get to the end and say, guys, you saw all of my moves. And yeah, I didn't think that his final tribal performance was very good. I thought Chrissy and Ryan's performances were better. But then again, that's why Chrissy and Ryan ended up with 3 of the 7 votes and Ben only ended up with 4. It's because like he didn't make that good of an argument because the guy wasn't a social player. We saw that from the get-go. He was never a really good social player. That's why he bonded so well with Lauren at some point and Mike at some point, because these were people who also, Mike was better social, but Lauren really wasn't much of like a social butterfly. So that's what Ben had to do. Ben had to find the idols. You had to stop this guy from doing one thing. He was never going to win a challenge because clearly he doesn't know that a U is upside down of an N. But he was never going to win a challenge. You had to stop him from doing one thing, and that was finding an idol. And you didn't do it. You didn't do it. You should have had Ryan attached to him like that horror movie where like you take the picture and the girl's on the guy's back the entire time. I don't even know what it's called, but that should have been Ryan. He should have been just walking around. He should have just been walking around hanging off of Ben's back the entire time. Don't let him go. And they just went and took a nap because they were arrogant again. And you just can't get that cocky in Survivor because your plan is never going to work.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the social player part because I've been sitting on Twitter and people are just like really upset about the number of idols. And you and I have been very vocal about how we feel about an exceptional amount of idols. But like you said, he's playing them, so they're going to get replanted. That's kind of just the way that the cycle works. But this is still a game of social politics. Every single person on that jury, the ones who respect the social game more, the ones who respect the physical game more, the ones who respect the strategic game more, they all, at some point or another, said, but did you have a real connection with me? Did you try to have a real connection with me? No matter how many idols there are, people still want that. People still vote based on that. And like you said, that's why Ben eked out the win, but Ben still got the win. And he started out very quiet at first, which I actually think was really good because that jury had a lot to say. And I think they let it all out on, or maybe it was just kind of the way it was broken up. Because at the beginning, it's like, oh, Ryan's talking a lot. Then Chrissy's getting a lot. And then it ends with Ben. So they kind of dictated the flow that way. But I thought Ben, I thought Chrissy actually knocked out of the park. But Ben, I mean, at the end, he was just an animal.
Well, and I think Ryan actually did a really good job. I think Ryan and Chrissy both did a very good job because, I mean, Ryan could talk himself out of paper bag. I mean, he knew what he was doing there. But one last thing on this idol thing. Wences Acosta, you're one of our biggest listeners. I don't care what you think about this. You don't have to like it. I don't know where I would rank it in my seasons. You don't have to like it. You can say whatever you want. But your comment here of, if I saw an idol used, I wouldn't think production would be stupid enough to put another idol. You watch every episode. You listen to all of our episodes. Come on. Like that's like what Survivor is. If you're not thinking that production's hiding another idol, if an idol can be used until Final 5, then production's going to be hiding idols until Final 5. They are doing everything they can to put as many twists and advantages into this game. So if you're thinking, oh, an idol just got played, they wouldn't possibly put another one out there, that's why they didn't win, because they weren't thinking that there'd be another one. There's always another one coming down the line. every
There's also
time.
there's also there had never been a Final Three before. They had had Final Threes for a handful of seasons, then they went back to a Final Two. You have to expect everything, and therefore kind of expect that Survivor is just going to take you the way it goes down. But you have to be aware of everything, and you need to look under that pasta plate. You need to stay up all night and find this X that says dig. You need to do that, and you need to play from beginning to end. And Ben did that, and he bothered a lot of people, as they said, as the jury member said, he rubbed some people the wrong way, but well, he never gave up. He worked his tail off. He found all of these idols. Chrissy came up to him. I know that she was kind of just like approaching him just for the sake of approaching him at the very beginning of the episode, but he was playing so hard that people were saying, okay, well, if I can't get rid of him, I kind of need to work with him. And then they would still try to get rid of him and it still wouldn't work. He was incredible. And no matter how many idols there were, guess who found them? It was him. And Joe said it took him, 10 days to find 2 idols? It took Ben a week to find 3. I mean, Ben was looking.
Yeah, well, when you have when you don't have a reason to strategize, that's all you're literally
when you have no friends, that's what you gotta do.
Like, that's all you're going to do. And like, the entire season until tonight, I still wanted Ben out every time that somebody's up against him. I wanted Joe to be.
That's a good point. Phil has been wanting Ben out for a long time.
I've been wanting Ben out the entire time, but tonight I couldn't help but root for him. When he sat down next to Devin, that was the first time I actually said, my God, I hope Ben wins this. And I've loved Devin all season, but I actually sat there and said, I really hope Ben wins this because he earned the thing. He really did. He earned it. He might not have been able to win the competitions, but it's the same way Ryan came out and said, I had to do it based on relationships that I built with all of you, and just kind of BS his way through that. That's the game you had to play. Chrissy's game was the challenges. Her game wasn't the social game. She, like Joe said, you're just rattling off facts now. Like, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's like, yeah, that means you have a really good memory. That doesn't mean you actually got to know me that well. You just have a really good memory and you listened when I talked. That doesn't mean that actually means anything to you. I don't think any of these people played a very good social game.
None of them.
Like, at all. And that's why you're in this situation where it's like, well, who deserves to win? In that final 3, to me, it was obvious Ben's the winner of this game. Ben had his back against the wall the whole time. They were calling him King Ben. He should have been going home right at the merge, and instead he goes all the way on to win the entire game.
Yeah, Joe was right at the very beginning. Who was he talking to? Ben. He was talking to Ryan and Devin, I think. The first time that Ben was like kind of hiding behind the tree, but not really hiding because he was bigger than the tree. Joe was like, you got to get rid of him. You got to get rid of King Arthur. And every single week they never did. And then as soon as they thought they had the opportunities to, they underestimated him. I feel like I need to tattoo the word stop underestimating people after this season. That is what we've been talking about this whole time. And in the reunion, I was texting Phil, they had this whole montage about people telling each other secrets. Like, those were the 2 big themes of this season. And like you said, no one played a great social game. Like, at least no one near the end played a really great social game. And I think that's why the jury, I really liked this format. I actually preferred this over the Game Changers one because the conversation just flowed more. And I think because no one, like, walking into it, I knew that Sarah was going to win. This one, I knew that Ryan was going to try to talk his way out of it. I knew that Chrissy had an argument. I thought Ben had it in the bag. So the questions that surrounded those 3 were a lot more different and a lot more in-depth and a lot more personal, and I loved that.
Yeah, and I really think that this was an interesting situation because all 3 of them could realistically win. With the last season, we knew Troyzan wasn't going to win. And once Ryan said that he knew that he didn't play the best game and he knew he wasn't in control, but that's what he had to convince them of, you're like, he's self-aware and he's probably been thinking of an argument the entire time because he knew this game didn't go the way he wanted it to. And I think that's what really tipped me off. I was like, oh, man, he's going to steal some votes. The problem is he stole Devin's vote that probably had a good chance of going to Chrissy because Chrissy was in such a good alliance. And then that still would have made it 4-3. But hey, we're looking at a really close final tribal here. This was a good final tribal anyway with the 4-2-1, which we don't get too often. But when you look at this as a whole, to me, Ben did play the best game. He didn't play the best social game at all. Like, there's no doubting that. Devin played a better social game, and Ryan played a better social game, and Mike played a better social game, and Ashley played a better social game. You go down the entire line and say they all played better social games than Ben. But Ben did what he had to do to impress that jury. Joe was sitting there on that tribal bench saying, pitching yourself better, because Joe wanted to vote for Ben and wanted everybody else to vote for Ben too, because he had seen the big moves, Chrissy's moves, and really the one that kills Chrissy, confident with that fake necklace around, and then Ben saying, "Hey guys, here's the real one," because it makes the other alliance look like fools, like, hey, we thought we had him and we really didn't, and he just steals all of their thunder on that move.
Yeah, that was what sealed the deal for me on Ben. When they're all going through kind of their last speeches, Ryan says something, Ben says something, and then the whole jury says, no, here, give that one more try. That was like, okay, Ben's gonna win this. Like, why would you ever give someone a second try to sell the other people around you on winning? I mean, that was just crazy. I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
And then, well, we can talk like with this Final Four thing. It was weird how she just like takes Ryan, and like I will admit, like it is kind of weird, but I do think that this format is better for the game, because if you're gonna do a Final Two, I think that you should vote the person out. Shouldn't be a fire making. You vote the person out. But if you're gonna do a Final Three, I think you kind of have to go this way, because there's just been too many times where you had Malcolm, Denise, Scoop, and Lisa. Okay, it's Denise is either going to get to the end or Malcolm's going to get to the end, and they're going to beat the other two. And tonight could have been that situation, but it wasn't, because you felt like Ben earned his way there, but then at the same time, it was like, wait, Chrissy could still win this. She could still pull this out. She just has to sneak a vote here or a vote there, and she could win the game. And I think her argument at Tribal was so good. But I think that this is something that I'm glad it's there for at least the short term. I think that this is something that really adds to it, because it's much more fun to watch Fire than to sit there and go, oh, we know Ben's going home tonight. Because if Ben goes home tonight, how exciting is that?
Well, that's the thing. There have been so many, so many of the last person voted out for the final tribal council so many of those people could have gone on to win the game. And Ben was a great example of that. So Ben is now like the first representative of those people who could win the game. Normally it's just sign, seal, deliver. They're the last person on the jury, and they have a chance again. So I think it gives us so much more suspense, because like you said, everyone loves watching a fire making challenge, especially when Ben didn't even know there was a fire making challenge coming up. In the future, if this becomes commonplace, obviously they can start practicing for it. But I think it gives the people who were the shoo-ins to go home a chance. It gives the person who was going to just be the third person, they have to prove themselves now. The person who does get picked, they kind of have to sell themselves a little bit better. And if you're the person with the advantage, you have to make sure you're picking the right person to go up in that fire-making challenge. So for all four people, it creates a very, very different dynamic than just voting someone out 3-1.
Yeah, and we saw it right away how Chrissy was like, I can't put Ryan out there because he'll never beat Ben. Devin, I have to put you. And Devin like looked at it as like, cool, now I can beat Ben. I'm the one who took down Ben. And that would have gotten him a lot of credit there. And I think that is like a good idea here. And this is another thing, like everybody who wants to say like, you know, Ben had to have all these idols and this dumb twist. Well, yeah, but he had no idea this twist was coming, and he still beat Devin. And Devin knew it was coming. The other three knew it was coming. Ben had no idea. So you can't say the person who was screwed because it was a surprise, they didn't know it was coming anyway. So, like, I just think that right now, I think that for some reason there's a little bit of just disliking of Ben overall. And maybe that's what's making this feel this way. But what I'm really confused about is, like, out of that Final Four, there was nobody. I felt like the entire season, I've been saying it the whole time, there was really nobody that you were rooting for the entire time. So, like, this happening for Ben, like, I don't have a problem with it, because to me, it was the best story. It was him with his back against the wall, doing everything he had to, taking down the arrogant people who wouldn't follow him around. And that's to me is a worthy winner. That yes, he won the game and he deserved it. I think a lot, and I remember this during Cagayan, I think people would be perfectly fine with the amount of idols and perfectly fine with this fire-making challenge if Devin found those idols, if Devin won that fire-making challenge. I think people, like you said, I think people are, for reasons, whatever reasons, are annoyed with the fact that Ben won. And he had a really great ending. Like, he had a great past 3 hours. So I think people are just upset that it was him who these good things happened to. And we see this all the time. So I mean, I'm happy for Ben. I think he crushed it in the end. And this whole
merge, I've been like, I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place with him. And I think most people have, but he won when it mattered. And he didn't even actually, no, he didn't even win when it mattered. Chrissy was winning when it mattered, but he knew what to do when he had to do it. And that is why he won.
Yeah. Exactly. And this twist wasn't installed for Ben to go further. This twist was
going around for a while.
Yeah, this twist was installed because David gets voted out at 4, so it's Adam, Hannah, and Ken, and so that I don't know, you can just go down the line. You know, there's so many times.
And we were just saying a few nights ago, we've been wanting an exciting final tribal council. We don't get that. We've had a lot of blowout wins, even with a final 3, and this was really exciting. I figured Ben had it, but I really was surprised by how well Chrissy conducted herself. I thought she was fantastic. I thought she had it in the bag about how, for a good portion of the final tribal council. And we thought she was going to get ripped to shreds, because especially with everything we'd heard in all the exit interviews, and the person who was the harshest on her was actually the person who was the harshest on her in their exit interviews, who was Desi, was kind of one of her bigger champions at the final tribal council.
Did we know who ended up voting for who? I know we didn't actually see all the votes, but
we know that Ashley voted for Chrissy. Devin is the only one who voted for Ryan. Lauren voted for Ben. And then I have to assume Joe voted for Ben.
Yeah, he did. He definitely did.
Dr. Mike probably voted for Ben. And then who else do we think? Oh, and then probably JP voted for Chrissy.
Yeah, JP had to have been the other Chrissy vote. And then it was the healer. Yeah. The healer still. So Desi still probably ended up voting for Ben, even though she was. Yeah. They showed her nodding along to Ashley's statements just to make it seem like she could get that vote. That's probably more what it was. Also, before we I don't know, maybe we should just jump into some comments, because we have a lot, and maybe that keep the conversation going a little bit, and we can do that for a half hour or so. But first, before that, I just want to say these challenges tonight were great. The challenges tonight were so good, and that final immunity challenge was awesome. It was so visual. Those things just falling over was great. Ben putting down the wrong damn letter was great. This was just a great challenge, and I loved every second of it and how it just kept going on and on. I loved it. It
was so good. And they kind of on that last immunity challenge, it was kind of like they were dropping a beat with it, the feet pushing and the blocks falling. That was awesome. And then I liked the I guess it was the first immunity challenge where they had to move the balls to match up with the colors, but you could only move one ball at a time. That was a great one too.
Yeah, no, I thought these were both great challenges.
Yeah,
really
this was a season for great challenges.
Yeah, this was very good with the challenges. All right, so now that we got that, let's just go over to Twitter. This way we can hear everybody's real thoughts, and we can kind of talk it out maybe and see what's going on here. I will say, I think this is I'm going to say this now so that everybody can continue ripping us apart. This was one of my favorite finales ever, and I don't even care. This is one of my favorite finales ever. I love that Ben found the idol right away. I'm not the biggest Ben fan. I said that 7,000 times, even though everybody will just forget that I said that 7,000 times. I'm not the biggest Ben fan. I'm happy he found the idol. I'm happy that he took them down. I'm so happy that the fake idol came back into play and Chrissy wore it around her neck, so cocky, and that Ryan really thought that Ben ate it up. They all thought Ben ate it up. That's what made it so amazing. And then seriously, Ben should just go on to be an actor. Maybe he was an actor. Maybe production was paying an actor. Who knows?
Maybe he is an actor.
That's all it is. They just hired this guy to go and win $1 million. Anyway, and then after that, you get down to Final Four. I thought the Final Four challenge was fine. I like that Chrissy ended up actually winning the immunity so that you knew it was going to come down to Devin and Ben. And it's all right, who's going to figure this out? Who's going to win it and give themselves $1 million, even though I think Devin might have actually lost now. But that's beside the point. And I just like the way this whole thing flowed. I'm a big fan of it. I don't care. I liked it a lot.
And it lasted. Go finish your sentence.
Well, yeah, and I actually think that the way they threw the reunion together, reunions have just gone downhill so much that this reunion, I wish we would have heard from the cast more. But the fact that they just kept playing the reunion in and really focused on the final 5 and gave them each their moment, I liked that.
Yeah, I'm glad they did that. I like how it started. I liked how they had all the games outside and Jeff kind of walks in. You get the whole scene. I really liked that. I liked how he introduced everyone, the pre-merge, the jury, and then the final 5. He had them all sitting separately. And yeah, I mean, they talked to the final 3 and Lauren. And think that was it. And that was like, yeah, that sucks. That was pretty shitty. But having like surprising Ben with his former like Marines, like that I was like a small child sobbing watching that. That was just so much.
I can't wait to see the internet outrage over. Look, they definitely wanted Ben to win so they could bring out his Marine friends, and now it's like, guys,
that probably would have happened even if he lost. Like they realistically,
they were definitely going to bring him out.
Yeah, because they like Jeff Jeff was talking to them. It was like as soon as he was on, like they kind of like they felt reconnected to him. So I thought that was great, and this kind of goes into what I said earlier about how people think this isn't a game about social politics anymore, but it is, because even though there's idols and hero music and winners edits and yada yada yada, these people voted for Ben because Ben won, because they believe that Ben played the game worthy of winning, and that is still a game of social politics. And this is a show that isn't afraid to tackle conversations like PTSD. This is something that we really haven't explored much in Survivor. And last year we watched someone be outed as transgender on national television, and this year we watched a Marine struggle to describe what it's like to go through PTSD to someone who can't even imagine understanding that. And I'm glad that Survivor wants to talk about this, because this is why I love this show. It brings up all of these things that so many people wouldn't either be thinking about or talking about before otherwise, and they strip people down, they stick them on an island, and they work it out together. And that's why I love this show.
Yeah, and it was all done in a very positive light, and I think there's been times in the past where some of this stuff's been done in such a negative way, where you're just trying to take people down and stuff like that, and this was not that. This was done in a very positive way. And I mean, I don't know what else I can say about it. I mean, I thought it was good. I'm happy Ben won. I love it. And to everybody who's not happy, get ready for me to troll you as hard as I troll you all with Michelle, because whatever. I just think it's great. Like, good. He deserved to win. Also, the whole thing with the reunion at this point is we hear so much from every castaway once they're out.
Mm-hmm.
It almost becomes like we already know the answer to most of this stuff. They do 10 interviews each every week. You get the Ponderosa videos. Yeah, you still want to hear like what these people are up to. Would they play again? Yeah, we all know that. But that's what you're seeing anyway. You're seeing that in every exit interview. And yeah, I'd still like to see more of them, but I would take this type of reunion over the last type, because this also went on to about 10:30. Whereas normally the reunion ends, or the episode ends at like 10:05, and then you have the winner, and then you just have an hour, pretty much 25 minutes of show and 35 minutes of commercial. And then this time they actually like worked its way into the episode, and I think it made it flow a lot better than it did in the past.
Yeah, and I'm not sure which part like took so long, so I wasn't really paying attention. I just like looked at the clock and it was 10:30. But I feel like I'm glad that the final tribal council took as long as it did. And that final immunity challenge, I guess, took a really long time too, but that was worth it to me. Like that was perfectly fine. I know that Cole and Jessica are not dating. I know that. Would I have liked them to tell me that? Like, yeah, that's fine. But I follow them both on Instagram. I see that they're not dating. Like, they have said in multiple interviews that they're not dating. And that would have been a huge part of the conversation had this gone for an hour. So, yeah, like you said, we kind of already know most of the answers.
Yeah, and I'd rather see Devin almost spoil the winner and Jeff have to cut him off. I'd much rather see
Oh, my God. That was so funny.
He cut him off. He was like, Devin, great. Yeah, that's why we love you. Get out of here.
Like, yeah, Ben's just a cool dude. And Jeff just, like, tackled him to the ground.
Oh my God. All right. So
awesome.
Let's jump over to Twitter. Let's get some of this out, and let's just end this season on a note. That's for sure. Survivor Patty. Devin should have known when Ryan said, why piss off the rest, that Ryan had something up his sleeve. What's interesting about this is Ryan actually didn't have something up his sleeve. And I thought it was great that Mike came out and admitted that he almost voted for Devin, but he didn't. Well, then you would have still been here. You would have still been playing the game, but you chickened out and you didn't do it, and Devin made that move, and that's why Devin's still sitting there.
Andy Vogel, sending this right after the Mike vote. Was the revote decision based on A, the final three deal between Devin, Chrissy, and Ryan, B, a challenge strength play, C, Chrissy and Ryan wanting to go against Ben's plan, or B, the delusion that they beat Devin at the end?
I think it's like all of those.
Yeah, well, I think D and A go together, because you want to take someone in the final three who you think you can beat. So those two, I would say, go hand in hand. But yeah, the whole like challenge threat part was it was like a really different dynamic this season because, like Cole said, he was the only guy who won an immunity challenge. And so many people were so scared of Ben winning immunity challenge, and he never really got close.
Yeah, no, it's so true. 8 out of the 9 individual immunities were women this season. Crazy. And that leads into the next question, which is Survivor Patty. Does Ryan know Chrissy is his biggest problem? Why he wins a puzzle, get rid of your competition? Oh my God. He can't get rid of her because she never lost. She won just like Ben kept finding idols.
Yeah. And Chrissy earned her way up there just as much as Ben did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Andy Vogel, my biggest fear of the fire twist is that I'll always guarantee that the 2 strongest non-immunity winners will have to face up on day 38. Any way they can refine this twist that would allow 3 strong players to make it to the end. Think so, because when it comes to that final immunity challenge, it's so hit or miss on what that actual challenge is. Like I could win every single immunity challenge, and that we could be Terry and Aris going back to back, and then Danielle wins. So it really could be anyone.
You'll never get that because also, if Adam wins, he's not taking David, and it was already down to Ken and Hannah. This is why Survivor China is and always will be the best season of Survivor, because it has the best players in the final 3. Your best players on that season are in the final 3. Courtney, Amanda, and Todd. And it tells you a lot that Amanda just completely butchers it once she gets to the final tribal, and she ends up losing to Courtney. That's the best final 3, and that's probably the only time you're ever going to see a final 3 where all 3 of them not only could beat each other, but they all deserve to be sitting there more than everybody else who was sitting on that jury.
We got a lot of Survivor China references tonight. Survivor China references tonight.
I know. There was so much Survivor China. I miss season 15 James more than I miss my parents. So
I miss
my God.
Well, you're seeing your parents tomorrow. I don't know if you'll be seeing James tomorrow.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, one can only hope.
Yeah. Anyway. All right, so we got Survivor Patty. Will the jury appreciate that Ben and Devin trying to earn that final spot? Will they not respect Ryan being given a spot in the final 3? Will this hurt Chrissy and the jury because she brought her buddy with her? See, I was actually surprised this didn't come up. Nobody really seemed mad that Chrissy just brought Ryan with her, and nobody really seemed to be faulting Ryan all that much for just being brought.
Yeah, because Ryan said, I didn't get dragged here, and I was waiting for someone to interrupt him and be like, you kind of did. So, and that kind of speaks to, like, how well he spoke. And I thought that, like, he did really well with what he was given what he had, because before we walked into the final immunity or final tribal council, he was like, yeah, I'm going to sell it, but like, it's all a lie. Like this game did not go the way that I wanted it to. And so I mean, they clearly didn't buy what he was selling enough, but I think they bought it enough to keep a conversation going with him. But I was really surprised that it didn't go aimed at him. I think they probably expected that she was going to bring Ryan.
Yeah, they had to know that that's who she was going to bring, because like they were the tightest the entire game. It would almost have felt as fake as Ken.
Sorry, I'm trying to Survivor Patty. Chrissy just lost. I think she tweeted this right when Ben won the fire making challenge. She goes, Chrissy just lost because Ben won the fire challenge. That was a big mistake. I don't know if it was a big mistake, because I think Ryan wouldn't have done much better than Devin did.
Yeah, I don't even know.
And she's not going to give up. She's not going to give up her own immunity necklace to go up against Ben.
Yeah. Nick Yauman, every season there's a player that goes to final immunity needing to win because they're the favorite with a target on their back. Sometimes they win and it's awesome. Sometimes they don't, and it's heartbreaking, but that's Survivor. What a horrible move by the show. See, this is where I think a lot of people are like missing this. Think about all the really good players that haven't gotten to the end. Because, yeah, they didn't win immunity, but then you also get maybe a weaker winner who ends up sitting there in the final 3 against the 2 weakest players, and it becomes like almost an unsatisfying winner. If you go look at the EW rankings, I'm pretty sure that most of those people who are ranked at the bottom, which that ranking is just a joke. But anyway.
It's just a mess.
It's like people were just clicking buttons and not actually ranking them. They were just like, hey, that's a pretty color. Let's click that one. But anyway, I'm pretty sure that at the bottom of that, most of those people are your second favorite person from a Final Four, where the favorite ended up going home and then you ended up with that second person. It happens almost all the time. And I'm like totally fine with this happening, because I think this actually does give you the best chance to have 2 great players going against each other, because you're going to have one of them who can win immunity. All Ben or Devin had to do is win immunity. And then they get to make the choice, and then it could be Chrissy versus Ben. And I really think that probably would have been the best scenario is if Devin wins immunity and then it's Chrissy versus Ben, because you're getting two really good players into the end. It's going to be pretty even, and you're getting Chrissy versus Ben, that huge moment that we've been building to the entire season. So I think that this, for the most part, is just going to keep building.
If I had the option to go back in time and watch a Malcolm versus Denise Final 3, I would do it in a minute. I think this is really, really good. I think it's bringing Survivor into a good direction. And I am sick of the twists and all this stuff, but this is I really am happy with what they're doing here.
I agree.
You're up. Sarah, could Chrissy have not played the secret advantage if she didn't want to? I don't think that was an option. It was kind of like Devin with the disadvantage. Like Devin had to play that.
Yeah, exactly. No, you definitely have to do this. There's no way that the producers can be like, hey, that's in there, and now you don't have to do it. They have to.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Vogel, did Chrissy even get a day 39 confessional? Yes, she did.
Right before Ben. They all got it. Ryan.
She was talking about moms.
And then Ben. Yeah, she was it was like a super mom one. Survivor Patty, did Chrissy make a mistake by keeping Ryan? He would have been a vote for her in the jury. Unless it's a tie, then Ryan decides, oh my gosh, because he gets to go on the jury. Speaking of the tie, we didn't even bring up the tie. I mean, we've been talking about this inevitable tie that was supposed to happen tonight for a very long time. And we were all kind of duped there. And I'm glad, because I was very confident that there was going to be a tie. And I'm glad that it ended the way it did. I would like to see how they, when they read that vote, when they tell them that it was a tie. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. But yeah, she could have put him on the jury and gotten him a vote. But I think Ryan is someone who could have gotten mad at her. So that would have been a precarious situation.
It would have been precarious, but I think he would have ultimately ended up voting for her still to win. But it's such a tricky situation because you have to make him make the fire, and he can just be like, why would you have me make the fire? Like, this doesn't even make sense. So we got Survivor Patty. Well, we know Ashley is living vicariously through Chrissy being the only woman that was going to be her selling point if she made it. Ashley is voting for Chrissy, so is Lauren. So Lauren didn't do it. It actually was Mike who was the other Chrissy vote, not even JP. How crazy is that?
Yeah, everyone was saying that in the chat. I don't know how people found that out already, but that's pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to hear why everyone voted the way that they did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we ever expected Mike to vote for Chrissy.
Yeah, no, I did not expect that at all. I'll read this one. Ice X Phil, since you had no one left on your fantasy team, how difficult was it to bring yourself to watch final episode? I almost just said screw it and was going to have Vaughn come in here and podcast for me so that Alexa and Vaughn could do it. By the way, Vaughn's fantasy team absolutely dominated ours. He had 3 correct idol plays with Ben and 4 immunity wins with Chrissy, and Ben went on to win. So he ended up beating Alexa at the end just because all his players kept winning things.
Yeah, Vaughn is the best specialist because he won the Eliminator game very early on. He won the Eliminator game once the merge happened, and then he won the fantasy game. So good job, Vaughn.
Yeah, exactly.
Survivor Patty. Once again, Devin helped Ben win the game first in the fire challenge, then by voting Ryan. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. Where am I at here? I'm not reading that. Yep. Nick man, here's what I need to know. Are the rules of the season and when where twists come into play determined day one before the season starts? If so, this fire challenge is a nightmare scenario for producers resulting in their game looking rigged. If not, yuck. No, everything is set up beforehand. It's just everything is set up beforehand.
But, yeah, except for maybe the Cook Islands bottle twist, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah. That was back when they needed to keep the ratings.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, there's a lot of weird comments. Gamer Girl, is that the most rush reunion ever? Other fan favorites like Joe, Allie, Jessica, and Devin didn't even get a word in. So Devin didn't get a word in, but we did get with Dr. Mike and Devin after they were voted out. They got a one-on-one interview with Jeff, and I'm glad we got that because if we didn't get to talk to either of them tonight, that would have kind of sucked. But we got a good amount of conversation with them, and also
I was all for them focusing on the final 5. Yeah.
Also, Devin was wearing mismatched socks, if anyone was paying attention.
He was ready for the flood when he was sitting down. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got Ice X. What was Chrissy thinking by showing off the fake idol? Was it to make Ben feel better about not looking for the idol he already had? I'll bet the jury laughed all the way back to Ponderosa on that one. Well, the thing is, she thought that Ben didn't have it. So she's sitting there going, I'm going to pull it out, and this is going to make me look so good in front of the jury. because I found the idol that stopped Ben from finding his. But then once Ben played his, it was like, wow, now she looks silly.
Yeah, like it would have been an awesome move if Ben didn't have the
already have
idol. Like it would have been great, but it wasn't. Like it's kind of like the JT Russell thing. Like it would have been a really cool move, but guess what? It completely backfired.
Exactly.
Yeah. Gamer Girl, was Ben's letter $1 million family letter, or was his last idol $1 million idol? I mean, I think they were both. I mean, every single idol that he had was $1 million idol because he needed every single idol that he had. And I think he was serious when he was saying that. I mean, I think every time when people say like getting this family visit really propelled me, like reading these letters really propelled me. His whole story has been about how his wife saved him, how he's doing this for his family. And I thought it was great. Like, I think it tied in really well with how his game ended.
Mm-hmm. Gamer Girl says, was anybody else hoping for a Chrissy win in that final three? I did not want an obvious Ben when I was hoping Chrissy so that she would break the curse of the third. We'll say there's a lot of Chrissy fans who were saying that she should win. And I will say that the people who complain about Ben's social game, I just don't understand why you think that Chrissy's was great. Because I think that her speech at Final Tribal was great. And I think she did a great job winning the immunities. But she was somebody who was always smug to the people not in her alliance. So I don't understand why Ben's social game was so terrible, but hers was good because she was in the majority alliance. She was like really never in the majority alliance until it was her, Devin, and Ryan.
Yeah, I agree with that. I haven't heard of anyone enjoying Chrissy's social game. So I think at the final tribal council, I was like, yeah, I'd be totally down with Chrissy winning. But that's good because they were. I really wanted two people to win. Like, I wanted two people in that final tribal council to win. And like, I think had Ryan's game gone a little more differently, like the way that he would have wanted, I think he really would have had a shot too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm. I just think that once you're in a position where you can't like make a move, that's what happened to Ryan. He couldn't get out of that. He was just trapped.
Mm-hmm.
Gamer Girl, do you think Devin has good chances at playing again? I do not. I don't think we'll see Devin again.
Wow, really?
I don't think we'll see Devin again.
I think we'll see a lot of people on this cast again. But the thing is, like, we're gonna see Alan before we see Devin.
Probably. Devin's not loud enough. And if they ever do like a favorites or something, Jay fits that stereotype, and they'd bring Jay back 10 times out of 10 over Devin.
I'm just waiting for like Surfer Dudes versus Stephen Fishback.
Well, then he comes back.
Season 40.
Yeah.
Giovanni Oriana, how many game changers were in this season? This was super subtle, and this might have only been on like the New York stream, but one of the first commercials in the 8 o'clock hour was this Aveeno commercial, and they said it was a game changer. And I know that isn't planned. Like, I work in advertising, I know that's not planned, but I thought that was the funniest thing ever. That is pretty funny. Ben's a game changer. Ben's a total game changer.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think actually Devin is too. And I think Lauren is too, because I think Lauren opened up a lot of people's eyes to the type of player that she was. I think that we haven't really seen that before. We haven't seen somebody come and take control the way she did. So I think she's a game changer too. I think Chrissy and Ryan tried to be game changers, but I don't think they ever had power enough to actually become game changers. Lauren and Devin. Devin's one solo move to tell them, hey, let's not let everybody in on this vote. That alone is enough to be a game changer.
Yeah, that was awesome. That move is going to go down as one of the better moves. And because it went over so well with Ben just crushing it too.
Yeah, exactly. And seriously, Ben could win an Oscar for how many great performances he had this season. There were so many moments like that.
Yeah, and the Chrissy fake idol. I mean, he played really cool with that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he could have blown that.
Yeah. Giovanni Oriana, Joe got compared to Tony, but Ben was also a Tony, dominating the confessionals, finding three idols, having an older lady as an antagonist, and spying on others. It's very true. Joe just seemed like he just looked more like Tony.
Yeah, he just looks like Tony. Dylan, parentheses, Samantha. I like Ben. I'm glad he could win for his family. But his win would have been much better if he could win without the other players keep making the same mistake during last week of the game. Ghost Island sounds like it could be an interesting season. That's why his win was so good, because everyone just kept making the same mistakes, and he just kept figuring out how to run away from them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I thought that made his win great.
Yeah, I'm all like for it. And I don't think the family thing was beaten too hard over the head here. I mean, that was just really like his
No.
storyline. So
No, it was great. And it was like real. It was something super real. Like the people who were saying they were annoyed with all of Adam's crying. Like Adam was living that in that moment. Ben has been living that in the moment.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's what people have a hard time realizing is like when these people go out there and like you're not eating, you're not with your family, it like your true self comes out here. And we always say that it's always like the true self when the person's bad, but when the person starts being emotional, talking about their family all the time, that suddenly becomes because they're trying to win the game. Yeah. And it's like, no, that's still just their true self. And like, this was really Ben. Yeah. This is really what we got from Ben, and him talking about his family. That's really him. And so I'm a big fan of it all.
Jeremy was having a baby. Like he wasn't lying about it. That
wasn't a lie. Like
he has a kid.
Really was sick. Like these are like things that really were happening to these people while they were on the island.
Yeah.
IceX, this has to be the most entertained jury I can remember. All that's missing is the popcorn. I gotta say, the Lauren's that final trial where she kept turning around being like, I appreciate that. I thought that was so funny because like she never like it didn't seem like she was ever really saying anything to the contestants. She was just saying everything to the other jury members. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, she's just like a really good hype man.
That was great.
Sorry.
I'm going to read D6.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me read D6. I've been watching your podcast. We haven't heard from D6 in so long. And anybody
I have no idea who this is.
D6 is the greatest. I've been watching your podcast. This is D6 comedy, by the way. I just haven't been into Survivor, even though I still watch it. Ben win doesn't satisfy me. Neither did last season as a whole. I enjoyed this season until Ben won, to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you, D6. The problem is it's because you just haven't been commenting enough. That's where you get all your joy for Survivor. So you got to come back to us. Get back over here.
When and why did he disappear?
I don't know. I guess he just, like he said, he just hasn't been that into it, even though he's watching it. But he used to be such a big commenter. He was the one who would call it Willie Boy and Philly Boy and everything like that. So he was the best.
That's a Survivor Specialist, Philly Boy and Willie Boy. That's pretty funny.
I miss D6. Put it on a t-shirt.
Put it on a shirt. Should have snanked the draft.
Yeah, exactly.
Survivor
that
CBS
needs to happen.
Yeah. Survivor CBS fans for a great finale. What a terrible reunion show. We got one question for Lauren. Would you want to see more or were you satisfied? We kind of already covered this. Yeah, I would have loved to see more, but I don't think CBS could allocate 4 hours to Survivor. I would be fine with it, but I don't think they could.
Yeah, exactly. It's always tough with the reunion, but I think that with the way social media is coming into play and everything, you know where people stand with each other. The reunion is falling. It's becoming less and less important because it used to be great when like you actually didn't know what these people were doing for the 6 months in between.
And actually, like from the one thing that we did learn, like Chrissy didn't get her job back. That was crazy.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that. But then again, at the same time, whatever job she had was probably like a higher level position. So when you lose that type of job, or like when you're like, hey, I'm going to take off this amount of time, they're probably like, okay, go then. And then like she loses that job, but I'm sure she'll find another one. It seemed like she was enjoying the time of not working. And I think that that's what she learned about herself on this season is like enjoy life a little bit more. You don't have to like I don't even know how she is, but it almost seemed like she was like one of those where it was like, I need to be impressive to everybody all the time. And now it was like, let me take a moment for myself and just really enjoy it more than worrying about where I'm going to be in 5 minutes.
Yeah, like she was super positive about it, and I think that's why. Because in the show, she was saying, "I miss my family. Like I've learned to appreciate my family time more." So, I'm not saying it was poetic that she lost her job, but it seems to be working out well.
Yeah, exactly.
Survivor CBS fans, do you think this is the last we've seen of Dr. Mike?
Yes.
I think we're going to see Devin again. I don't think we see Dr. Mike again. I think he was fun, but I think like gameplay wise, I don't really know what they would do with him.
I feel for him because we didn't really get to see his gameplay because he didn't really get to play before the merge and the merge hit, and he never really got to play then. So I like Dr. Mike, but I think that's the only time we see him. Yeah,
they kept him in the dark the entire game.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we got Jules seeing a lot of comparisons of this ending to Worlds Apart. Do you think that comparison is appropriate? Why or why not? I don't really think so.
Yeah, I don't think so at all. We've been comparing this to Gabon in China, so I wouldn't really compare this to Worlds Apart. I think the people are very different.
Yeah. Jimmy O'Connor, there are exceptions, but the Final Four vote is stale with limited drama. I think this is a nice change to Survivor to add suspense in the final stretch of the game. People don't like change, but I think fans will come around to it eventually. I agree.
People don't like change. That is it. Survivor Patty, kudos to Chrissy for tying Kim, Kelly Wigglesworth, and Jenna Maraska for most Immunity Challenge wins. that's a solid crew right there to be lumped in with.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, and those like they were all in like were they all in their 20s when they did that? Like Kelly was super young.
Who was the other one? Maraska was young. Yeah, Maraska was 22. Yeah, no, they were all in their 20s.
Wow, nice job, Chrissy.
Read the next one.
All right, read your boy. Oh, okay.
Wait, what is the next one? Sorry. Oh yeah, so
D6.
The reason why people are upset about the Ben win is Ben was very cocky and rude to people he didn't have to be rude to. He was overly rude to Cole, Joe, Lauren when he painted the target on her, even Chrissy. He was just rude to enjoy. But the problem is so was Chrissy. Chrissy was very rude to people too, and I think that that's like where it's kind of lost here is like, but like Chrissy was also rude to people and Ben was rude to people. It was a very rude season. As much as like
they were all pretty rude.
It was enjoyable, but you know they were rude.
Yeah. And also like Ben kind of got his with that. Like Cole said, can you just admit it? Like admit that you did this. Joe was like, you were kind of mean to me. So I get that. Let's do one more.
Yeah.
The guy who loves Survivor and Christmas. What haunted twist do you think will emerge next season? Also, did you like me think that the girl in the audience is gonna place a tie-breaking vote? That would have been freaking insane.
That would have been so fun.
Yeah, the whole thing is that this is going to be decisions that people made. So I don't really know what they're going to do, but I'm kind of looking forward to it. Like if someone gets voted out with 7 idols in their pocket, I am all in.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do at all, but I'm interested to see. So.
All right. So we have a bunch more comments. I'm sure we have a ton on YouTube, but Phil and I are going to log off. We've really enjoyed the season. It's been a roller coaster. They were all pretty rude to each other, but we had a really good time talking about it. So we'll update the fantasy games and we'll reach out to people who won. Spoiler alert, Adam Klein is the winner of not only Survivor Millennials vs. Gen X, but also the season 35 bootless game. So we'll be back with that. We have some really good ideas for what's going on in the off season. So we don't know immediately when our next podcast is going to be, but we will be in touch. We'll be back sometime, probably just to like recap the whole season again. But in the meantime, we'll be back. Thanks for tuning in. This was an earlier one than usual. And we'll be back soon.
Sounds good. See y'all soon.